Everyone, and we are live. Friendly Differences 2.0. I am Solid Blue Sister with my co-host.
That's right, Professor Baba Lloyd, DA Select, whatever you want to call me. That's what I am today. What is going on, sister? It's good to be here, and it's so good to be back in the space with you. How are you today?
I am good. I am good, and I am glad to have you back. Even though our co-host Sean, he was great. I enjoyed him. I thought we had a great show. But today, guys, we are going to talk about Black women, the over sexualization of Black women, how it got started, and can it be stopped? Is there any way that this stereotype can be stopped? But first, I just want to give y'all just a little bit of history on how Black women got this stereotype. I'm going to piss some people off. I'm sorry, but I
Uh-oh.
am. But I got to go down the white road. And it started with white people. Over uh, when white people started going to Africa to kidnap Africans to bring them back over to British, to the Virgin Islands, to Jamaica, to the United States. They saw Black women, in an atmosphere in an area that was hot. So,
Right.
they were wearing clothes that were, I mean, they weren't walking around in a winter coat, with boots and hats and whatever. And they saw that as being sexual. They also saw the tribal dances that Africans do. And that was also sexual to them. So for me, right off the bat, what does that say about you and where your mind is? So when they came over to America, and especially in America, in order to justify the slave owner or white man raping Black women, they said that Black women liked it, that it was a sexual thing. Black women liked having sex. So
Right.
that was their way of justifying raping these Black women. And what they did was, and this thing right here, this just bothers me too. It just bothers me. When they breeded, that's what it was, Black women, um, they put them in barns, they put them in stalls like horses. And whenever a Black woman had a baby, it was a litter. So we weren't even treated as human. We were treated as animals.
Mhm.
So, you know, these are stereotypes that started. The roots are with white people. Fast forward to 2023, we're still in the same spot. You know, girls as early as 5 years old, Black girls, are considered sexual. You had a point, it wasn't until the 1960s that a white man was arrested and possibly tried for raping a Black woman or girl. And a lot of women who were raped prior to 1960 and even now never reported it. And I find that sad. So, Professor Lloyd, that's where I'm going to stop and let you jump in.
Well, I'm I'm gonna piggyback off what you said. There's really nothing I can disagree with. It was even that there was a old saying that and it was all the way back in the old times that if that a person could not become impregnated unless they had an orgasm if they were a woman. And so if a white person can impregnate a Black woman, they must have liked it because they had an orgasm from being pregnant, which is a myth. You know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
that was also, but also understand that sexual immorality did not rest on a Black woman. You're correct. It rests on the white man. That we also must also remember that when Black people came to America, we did not come to America culturally empty-handed.
Exactly.
I say that again. We did not come to America culturally empty-handed. That's in the words of James Baldwin. That we came here with our own spiritual actions, our own spiritual traits, our own ways of knowing, and how we conducted ourselves. One of the rituals into being a manhood, even in one of the tribes in Africa, is the where they come with the word the twerk. But people would not just twerk all the time. It was twerking happened in a certain way, or should I say, dancing provocatively happened in certain times. They just didn't do it all the time, but it was during certain festivals, and there was reasons why they did it. But in one festival, for a male to what they say, part of their rite of passage is all the young boys would sit in a circle, and the women would come out and they would dance around them, and to see if they would get an erection. And if they did not get an erection, then that means they were able to go into manhood, because they were able to hold themselves back of sexual desires just by seeing a woman. And I think a lot of times in our society, we have a hypersexualized society at that. That if we see a woman with a large derriere, buttocks or whatnot, a protruding buttocks, we for some reason we think that, we think for some reason that is uh that they're wanting something from us. If a woman is wearing a tank top and they happen to have large breasts, for some reason, people think for some reason that that person is trying to call on some type of attention, when it's just 105-degree day and they just want to be a little bit cool when they walk out of the house. They're always thinking that if a person wears a shirt that is cut off, right after the breast and kind of a halter top style, they think that this person is asking for certain attention. And in some ways, some might be asking for attention, but majority of women are not asking for attention. Majority of women just like to feel good about themselves and want to walk around and don't want to be messed with. It is the male ego, the male what I say, the male patriarchy, who thinks that they have a right to put a price or put a stigma on women, and especially Black women, that if they come out dressed a certain way or if they act a certain way, this is what they want. And so it creates a culture within America that was born out of that thinking of, should I say, male chauvinistic thoughts, that born out of that was this hypersexualized Black woman. And the hypersexualized Black woman actually really goes way back in the time, way
Mm-hmm.
back from the there's a book, The Eyes of Pines, and things like that, where it talked about the seducing Black woman, seducing or enchanting the white man to want to take around, the Jezebel, and her casting her spirit upon him.
Mm-hmm.
He walked and moved through, and he could not resist himself because he was under some type of a spell, right? So it was if a Black male did something to a white woman, it was because we were hypersexualized as Black men. But if a white man did something to a Black woman, it was a woman's fault because she drew him to him. So no matter what, the onus always came on the Black skin. And writer stamp from the beginning always said there's something wrong with us because of our skin.
Well, let me ask this, because now, as you were talking, I was thinking about the Dukes of Hazzard
Uh-huh.
and Daisy Dukes.
Okay. Oh, Daisy.
So if Daisy were Black, do you think her running around in Daisy Dukes would have been perceived differently in society?
Yes. No doubt about it. For some reason, the chastity of white women has always been protected. If you go all the way back to the birth of a nation, the chastity of white women and holding white women to a certain standard has always been protected. So I was reading this book, and it's actually called "When and Where I Enter."
I read that book.
Wonderful, right? Angela Julia Cooper talks about only the Black women gets to say when and where I enter. And so in one of the chapters called "Defending Our Name," the fact is, Black women has never had no one defend their name the same way the white woman has someone defend their name. They never if Daisy was a Black woman with a big dick, hey, you see what happened to Sarah Bartman?
Oh yeah,
It took her whole body around Europe trying to show off show off her backside. Even after she was dead, they trying to show her skeleton figures, and it wasn't until Nelson Mandela was released that they will finally return her body back to her people. So what I'm saying is yes, if Daisy Dukes was a black woman, it would have been this black woman enticing the Duke brothers to do these fast chases and everything else. And the funny thing about it is when you look at a lot of different things, not just not just Daisy Duke, but do you remember Macho Man Randy Savage back in the day? It was a wrestler. He was a wrestler. I don't know if you watch wrestling, but he had this woman next to him named Elizabeth. And Elizabeth would walk him down, and Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage got to the fight over. If any of these figures that were put in front of us, okay, here I'll give you another one. Remember when they came out with Baywatch? That's not too
Oh yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Baywatch.
Yeah.
Baywatch didn't have a black woman on there at the beginning.
No.
But if Baywatch had a black woman on there, they would have hypersexualized her too.
So okay, so let's go to Miss America.
Miss America. Let's go.
Okay, so do you think that when they have the whole swimsuit thing, or even the evening gown, or even just the woman, just if she were just to walk across the stage with glasses and a shirt tie all buttoned all the way up to her neck, whatever, do you think that when the viewers or even the judges, when they see a white woman walk across the stage as opposed to a black woman or a Latino woman, that they see them differently, meaning they can have on the exact same thing, but on a sexual level, they see them differently?
Yes, that our society teaches us to see them differently. For some reason, white women have always been the sexual stat slash measuring stick for our society. How she looks, how she walks, how she acts has always been the measuring stick for our society. And when I say our society, I'm talking about an integrated society as a whole.
Right.
I'm not trying to say how you and I might think, but I'm saying society. So if a black woman comes and she has a little bit more packing in the back, she gets points deducted. Or
okay, so then why do you think? And I know there's one particular person that watches this show, and I just shake my head, because I'm sorry, I think I am speaking truth. So why do you think then you have not all, but some white women who want to go and get their lips filled, get their butt enhanced?
well,
They want to lay in the sun, and even though they don't want to be black, but I'm sorry, we come in different colors and we look good. So
let's call it what it is.
So
call it what it is.
Jealousy.
Come on, everybody wants to be black till it's time to be black.
Well, that's not exactly what Dred said the other day, but yeah.
They might have said it, but you must understand. Everybody wants to be black until it's time to be black. What I'm trying to say is, okay. So even if you look at the enslaver's wife, she had a disdain for black women.
Yeah, she did.
She had a hate because she knew that although she was at home sleeping in the bed, if he got up in the middle of the night, she knew what he was going to go do. And she could not stop. She could not leave him. She was already married to him. She had to stay there. But think about a woman understanding that I am not my husband's desire, that somebody out there in the barn, like you said, he is about to go grab someone from that barn, and he's about to have their way with him, and he's not even having his way with me, and I'm his wife sitting right here who can bear him a child, but he'll rather go down there and do that. It's from the start they've been mad. That's the reason why you hear about in these different books how slave masters' wives wanted the black women beat to a certain way, beat her more. In fact, they actually not just seeing the black man beat, but they would literally have smiles on their face if they seen the black woman getting beat. Yeah. They would literally sit there smiling, encouraging, get hit her harder because they were upset, they were mad that their husband sneaks out in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. in the morning, to go get some black tail and don't want to keep his butt in bed with her. So yes, there's a jealousy there. There's some strife and some envy and maybe a little bit of, you want to beat me because you can't beat me.
So I put in the chat, they were her property. Very good book. I encourage everyone to read it. And I find, parts of that book still goes on today with the AKA Karens, and I am now turning into Brooks. So, but I mean, so Lloyd, do you think that this is something that can be turned around, or is it just so ingrained because of centuries of it being ingrained in society that black women will always be perceived, as this sexual thing? And before people start saying, well, black women are not that, are not that pretty or sexual, whatever. The bottom line is you have a lot of white men who go after black women just because they want to see what it's like. I have had husbands hit on me, and their wives are standing 5 feet away. I have seen it. I mean, we talk about it amongst ourselves. It's like, did you just see that? Whatever. But it's like, whatever. And their wives can sit there and they see it. Don't be pissed off at me. You go home, you be pissed off at him. I didn't say shit to them, whatever. So, but do you think that is something that will ever change, or is just so ingrained for so long that this is just the way it is, that people think that, just like what the Rolling Stones, what Mick Jagger said, white women like it in the butt, I'm sorry, black women like it in the butt, whatever. And people believe that, the stereotypes. I mean, I know people who are so ingrained with stereotypes, and no matter what you say, they don't care.
Well, I don't think there's correction for the society that we live in today. Because too many people have used stereotypes to fuel their intellectual thought, right? That's what is woven behind their intellectual thought, and that's what they built upon. If you remove a stereotype, they have to go back to the drawing board and learn how to think. And most people in society don't want to learn how to think. They want people thinking for them and to put their thoughts in there for them, so it's easier to live. It's more palatable if you tell me how to think and what to think than to actually sit down, read a book, and formulate my own opinion. So I'd rather look at a black woman or a black man and already have the thought that you told me how to think than me have to wonder if this person's a good person. If you told me they're a bad person and that person's about to jack my car, I'd rather just call the cops right now because you already told me how to think that this person's about to jack my car. They're not just walking their dog at 8 o'clock at night. Do I think that it could be fixed? It's been around way too long. Overcorrecting in our society is a myth. Correcting our society is a myth. Period. Because what we'd have to do is we would have to what's that word I'm looking? We'd have to cultivate a whole new type of society in which women's rights are actually celebrated. Supreme Court already took away the woman's right to their own body. So if a woman doesn't even have the right to her own body, what makes you think that we're going to change the minds of men of how to look at women's bodies?
But is it changing the mind of a man of how you're looking at a woman's body, or is it changing the mind of how you're looking at this particular body as compared to that particular body?
No, I think first, okay, so we understand that women suffer under a double handicap, which is sex and race. We understand that. So at the bare minimum, we must understand that all women are being sexualized. At the bare minimum, all women are being sexualized. But the black woman being sexualized popular, such as you have the Lizzo who flaunts hers as a what we call a BBW, and what happens is she makes it popular for plus size women to show off their bodies. You don't see that in other races. You don't see where people embrace their what society would call an imperfect person, but we're the ones who we embrace things that are imperfect, and society wraps around it. And so now you see plus size white women, plus size Latino women. You have see plus size other women now coming to the forefront because of people like what's her name, Nikki, used to play Mrs. Parker. What's her name? She was one of the very first ones. What's her name?
Monique.
Yeah, Monique.
Mm-hmm.
Monique was one of the very first to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you get the Jennifer Hudsons of the world, who with the wonderful voice, and of course she's slimmed down now. But you get all these other women from our ways of knowing as black women who came in and they embraced their bodies. And now you see all these other people want to do it, but not only did they embrace it, then what happened is then man in our society, we then put another thing on top. And not just did they embrace their bodies, but the sexualization comes from men, not women. Women have I don't believe women have a and what I mean by this, I don't think women have a say so of what man deemed to call. I don't think if sexual immortality doesn't come from women, it comes from men. That's what I'm trying to say. It comes from us. Like I said, women just want to wear something that's comfortable. We're the ones who make it sexual. And that's what I'm getting at.
So how do you sexualize a 5-year-old girl?
Now that, on the other hand, is just nasty and disgusting.
No, but I'm saying, but you have, and there have been studies done on this where you have teachers who will, look at a,
That's insane. Okay.
at a kindergarten or a first grader saying, well, she shouldn't have worn that. Well, what's the difference between that dress that she wore and this little white girl wearing the dress that she wore?
Well, see,
So, and black girls, young, I mean, black girls are sexualized as young as 5 years old.
Well, see,
So
that's a hard question for me to ask because I can tell you the man that I grew up around and the people that I know to have grown up around, we've never done that.
exactly.
And so I'm just saying, like, in the hood, on the street, everywhere I came from, as far as I know, I don't know what people do behind closed doors, but I know outwardly in front of the groups and the people that I tend um to hang out with. We never done anything like that, nor was it. I have 5 daughters, right? 5 daughters, five daughters who grown up within the capacity of me, from the teenage level on up, some from baby on up, and changed diapers and everything else. And impure thoughts have never come to my mind. I've been around my friends' daughters, and impure thoughts never came to my mind. Their friends
Hmm.
spending that
Hmm.
impure thoughts. So to me, I think what happens is, like I said, our society was on TV, was on social media. Um,
But all of this happened prior to that because you have, I mean, because you go back to slavery. It was like it was also a way to maintain control. If in order to control you, one of the things that they would do would be rape. And unfortunately, they did it in front of the husbands, in front of the children, whatever. And this is what, just excuse my French, but just the mind fuck that was going on back then with
that's
black
right.
people. So, and for anyone who's listening to this and says, well, y'all being the victim, y'all playing the victim, we were the victims.
That's right.
We still are to a certain point the victim. So y'all can whine and say all you want to about white folks are now this and white folks, but did you all go through the shit, excuse my French again, that we went through? So until you have, zip it. I mean, so and Lord, I understand because growing up, I didn't grow up in a house where, my father looked at my sister and I, or sneaking into our bedroom at night. And for anybody that happened to, I'm very sorry that did happen. But again, like my uncles did not come over looking at us like, oh yeah. I mean, but with black girls, it's over sexualization with black girls.
But
And
but let's go back to slavery. I was reading from Defending Our Name. in the book, and one part said that, did you know white women sometimes wanted black women to be their husband's mistress, because if the black woman became the husband's mistress, at least the husband wouldn't be looking at another white woman outside the house. How about that? How about that exact thought, that white women would literally want their husbands to sexualize black enslaved women, because they felt that if the black woman was their mistress, at least their mistress was something that they could not compare to themselves, and that now you're not going to go see another white woman.
Yeah, but
What
they were, but those same white women who had those slaves were also bringing in the black buck in into their bed too.
yeah.
So but I mean, no, I mean, but that way of thinking, I mean, it's perverted, but
Uh-huh.
I'm not surprised.
That's right.
I'm not surprised. I mean, because what Miss Ann wanted, Miss Ann usually got.
There you go. And if Miss Ann was telling such and such, you're going to be my husband's mistress, because guess what? As long as he's having sex within this here plantation, he's not going to plantation over yonder to have sex, right?
She assumes.
Right? She assumes. Right?
She assumes. I guarantee you that he
But
was on his horse and he was over there at that other plantation.
but my question is this though, right? I think what happens is we have to redefine what is sexual and what is not, because what happens is we think what a person's wearing makes them sexual, not the way that they act, right? We think that we hypersexualize a person that wears something that shows a little bit more cleavage, that shows a little bit more derriere, that shows a small waist and everything else. But I've seen people who show cleavage and had a small waist that honestly got true, that did not look sexual. But I've seen a covered person walk gracefully and be very attractive. A person who was actually heavier set, but just by the way they conducted themselves. I think what happens is when we change the face of what sexuality is or what is sexual, I think then we can actually change the hypersexualizing in women, especially black women. Black women, we must understand this. Black women, whenever if women get the cold, black women get the flu. That's just how it is. Black women is always gonna hold the grunt of what women in society take on. If they say women in society are fighting against, let's just say, breast cancer, if you do the statistic, I guarantee black women are at the top of that list when it comes to breast cancer. If it says the only thing that black women aren't going to win is melanoma, because that's because of their skin pigmentation. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, if there's any type of thing that's happening to women in the community, black women get the worst of the grunt for those women. And that's even when you look at the repeal of Roe versus Wade, black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die during childbirth. So when you sit there and tell black women that they have to have babies, you're literally telling black women that we do not value your life, as much as we do other people's lives. Um, Also, when you look at just not just that, but healthcare, or even food within society, right? When you look at what they call that, food deserts, or
Mm-hmm.
grocery stores that have
Mm-hmm.
that have actual good produce and everything else, they put them
Mm-hmm.
a long way from black communities. Within those black communities, you have more single mothers, right? And in those
Mm-hmm.
black communities with single mothers, you're making it harder for them to mother. So a white single mother who's had more proximity to white communities have a better chance of raising their single child than a black mother does, because of the resources that's now put around her than that's put around the black woman. Again, like I said, black women are always going to be more exposed than any other woman. So if it's sexuality, black women are hypersexualized. If it's healthcare, black women have reduced healthcare. The way they get treated in emergency rooms tell you right there. Black women are always going to take the grunt of society. That is why when it says when and where we enter, when black women enter in, everybody gets to enter in. Because if the black woman becomes a measuring stick in our society, then I believe our society moves forward. But as long as a black woman maintains an area at the bottom of society, our society goes right into the trash.
Okay. All right. No, I mean, and that makes a lot of sense. I wanted to read just a little bit from Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, which
Okay. Oh, I love
I,
that.
yeah, I read that years ago. Harriet Jacobs recounts her own experience with being a sexual victim, saying, "But I now entered my 15th year, a sad epic in the life of a slave girl. My master began to whisper foul words in my ear. Young as I was, I could not remain um, ignorant of their import. He was a crafty man and resorted to many means to accomplish his purposes." And Jacob's account is not alone. As slave narratives became available, those written by women and sometimes those written by men as well were rarely without mention of the sexual exploitation. And I just think that it's sad. I think that it's sad that so many stereotypes have come out of such an evil period in America.
That's right.
And that they're stuck. And then when Birth of a Nation came out, that just seemed to solidify it. And for over 70, 80 years, well, actually almost actually 100 years, um, this is what it is. So I have a hard time again with people saying that we are playing the victim. But as long as you continue to do the same things of what you're doing, if a Black woman goes into a police station and says she was raped, I guarantee you that the questions that they ask her are going to be different or more harsh than the questions that if a white woman were to walk into that same police station and say she was raped.
That is correct. Because
in 2023.
In 2023, that's because our word is still not our bond. For some reason, they try and find a reason that we're lying. I'm gonna read something from James Baldwin, and it says here: the story of the Negro in America is the story of Americans, or more precisely, it is. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The story of the Negro in America is the story of America, or more precisely, the story of Americans. It is not a very pretty story. The story of people is never very pretty. The Negro in America, gloomily referred to as the shadow which lies athwart our nation's life, is far more than that. He is a series of shadows, self-centered, intertwining, which now we helplessly battle. One may say that the Negro in America does not really exist, except in the darkness of our minds. James Baldwin was something else, ain't
He knew exactly what he was talking about. I mean, I mean, Lloyd, I am just at the point where, and I've said some things, but I stand by them. I'm just sick and tired. I am pissed off. I'm sick and tired, and I'm just sick and tired. I'm just sick and tired of it. And the stereotyping, I absolutely cannot stand it. I am literally at a point in my life that the stereotyping has just, if you were to take away all of the stereotypes, the negative stereotypes that were created around Black people, how would this world be? How would this country be? How would we be perceived? Because those stereotypes, it's like in the first, like we talked about this before on the previous show. First thing they want to go back and say is, black on black crime. That's the only thing that they can go to, black on black crime in 2020, the 2020 protests. But let's go back. And even we don't even have to go back. Let's talk about yesterday. How much would this world be different, this country be different, if the Black stereotypes were taken away?
Well, that's a good question. That's a damn good question. If Black stereotypes were taken away, how different would this world be? I don't see the world being wow. Well, to take away, because stereotypes create racist ideas and thoughts. And without stereotypes, you can't create racist ideas and thoughts about a person. Stereotypically is I have a white neighbor who right now is putting up American flags, and he's about to celebrate the 4th of July. He does it every year. That's what he does. The stereotypical thing about it would be that I would think that this guy is a Trump loving you know bigot who embraces America and everything else. But in actuality, uh, this white man is married to a biracial wife. They have children who are part of the LGBTQI plus community. They are very loving people, and he just happens to be a vet who just wants to celebrate the 4th of July, and is who doesn't have stereotypical beliefs, or who probably does. Everyone has biases. I'm not going to say we don't have biases. He has biases, but his biases don't, has, as far as I know, have not been shown. So, do I think the world would be a different place? Yes, because then we would be less judgmental. Because still, like I said, stereotypes tell us how to think. That's the thing about stereotypes. When I drive to the store, my stereotype is when I see a handicap plate in front of me and this person's driving slow, it must be an old person, right? That's just a stereotype that old people drive slow until you get to the side of them and find out that it's some, 16-year-old who just got their license who's just trying to drive the speed limit, right? So, yeah, the world would be a better place. Do I still think that we live in a racist society? That's a hard question.
But don't you think? Oh, and what I put into the chat was just what I read from the incidents of a slave girl. I just put that in chat. Okay, so would the world be a better place? I think it would, because stereotypes are usually a negative thing, and if people perceive you like, if a woman's going to clutch if a white woman's going to clutch her purse when she sees a black man walking down the street, or when you have Central Park Karen who is unfortunately dragging that poor dog, saying that this black man is attacking me while she's approaching him. Right. And they're always approaching you. You're always backing away, and they're always approaching you. So, if those stereotypes weren't there, then we wouldn't have situations where you're basically setting someone up, usually the black person, to be killed with the police show up. So maybe we didn't have these stereotypes. Maybe, we wouldn't have to worry about, driving while black and getting pulled over just because, this black person is driving this Tesla, or just because I'm walking down a street that you're not supposed to be there. I think that it would be a better place, because the people who created the stereotypes, sorry, and people can come back and say solid, well, black people this and black people that, even the word ghetto, it's like people perceive that ghettos are predominantly black places. A ghetto is one particular group of people living together. So, Jewish people, white people, it's like you go to Beverly Hills, that's considered, technically that's a ghetto.
That's correct.
So, but once again, the ghetto is perceived as this inner city black neighborhood that's falling apart, where there's all this crime, whatever. And it's like the ignorance of stereotypes is what gets me, and the ignorance of people who believe them. I'm sorry, y'all are ignorant. Y'all are some ignorant ass people. And yes, I'm cursing a lot today.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, you got a little fire up under you today. You ready for this topic?
It's just so much. It's just, if a black woman raises her voice, it's like, oh my God, it's like a white woman raises her voice, it's like it's nothing, right. Big, it's why are we militant?
But remember, like I just said, everything. Okay, like I just said, everything in society. If a white woman has the cold, black women have the flu. I meant what I said. If there's a barrier put up for white women, it's a double barrier put up for black women, and that's what they need to understand. If they have to jump a 3-foot hurdle, your hurdle is going to be 6 to 9 foot. As a black woman, that's just what it is in this society. Coney Barrett is it Amy? Yeah, the Supreme Court.
Hmm. Hmm.
She didn't even know. Uh, she didn't even know parts of the Constitution. But Ketanji Brown Jackson had to know everything in and out.
But are you surprised? I mean, once
No.
again, because you know we're always having to prove ourselves. It's constantly, and just again when on one hand, the over sexualization of Black women is also a contradiction because on one hand we're over sexualized, whatever, and but on the other hand, society, white society, has also made it where growing up all you saw on TV were what was considered beauty was these skinny white girls.
Yes.
You
And,
know,
so do you think the fact that you know how when a plane breaks the sound barrier,
mhm.
do you think black women broke the sound barrier?
Oh,
You think
I think we definitely have. But the problem
but you
is
get what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying, right? We had in our society we had these skinny, um, no curved white women, Daisy Duke, thrown in our face for the longest time. And the minute you seen this voluptuous, beautiful black woman with curves, the first thing our society said is ooh and ah. And that is what it is now. And all the only thing that hit us was, man, this got to be something sexual.
well, and you're right because if you go on YouTube and you pull up videos with uh Asian men and even some Asian women, but with mainly the Korean men
Right?
and how they look at Black women. It's like it's like we're it's like they're in awe of us.
Yes.
Just in awe of us, and they do see a beauty there, but at the same time, I think it's just like they're not used to seeing us, whatever. But
That, this is my question
I
though.
just think that there is a jealousy, not just with Black women, but also white men with Black men. I think that there's a jealousy there, and it's
I
like
have, a, I have a question for you. I have a question for you. Real question, out the fly. Because you are a black woman. How does it make you feel to be over sexualized? Honestly, got like
it pisses me off. It's not a it's not something that I seek.
okay,
I have had, men say things to me. I've had white men say things to me. I've had Latino men say things to me. I've had all kinds of men say things to me. And it's like, is that supposed to make me feel good? Because it doesn't. Because it always comes out as a derogatory thing, if that makes sense.
okay. Then here's my question. Because and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. Trust me, I have my own thoughts on this. I'm just trying to spice up the conversation a little bit. But you as a black woman, when you see uh Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion come out with a song called WAP, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're very and we know that black women for a long time in their music and in their videos they've been very provocative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This goes all the way back uh from even Salt and Pepper and All Push It song, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To Red Light Special, TLC,
Mm-hmm.
wearing the 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you get giving them something he can feel by In Vogue up there wearing the nice tight dresses as they're singing. And as you move on, you get the Little Kim cover where she's squatting in front of the cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Showing, she's covered up, but yet still showing,
Mm-hmm.
to the Foxy Browns who are talking about put your lips on my nana. And, you get all these different, female MCs who are coming out with this sexual powers, and they're really bringing it to the forefront of the community. And like I said, now you get to this point where now female artists go from MC Light fully clothed to Cardi B, you know, wearing almost nothing. Do you think that contributes to the over sexualization of black women?
Absolutely. And I know that I'm gonna have women get mad at me. I mean, like this. I have said this before. People have heard me say this. I could be a total prude. I could be a total prude. But I look at things and I'm like, on one hand, we get upset about this, but on the other hand, we can't turn around and do the things that we're upset about. We can't tell a rapper not to have women in their rap songs, shaking their butt. But yet here we go make a song doing the same thing. Now, I have also gone on record for saying, and Lloyd, you're going to look at me and you're going to say, you've got to be kidding me. I do not like being touched in public where you're feeling on my butt and all that other stuff. I don't like it. I don't like seeing it. Okay, that is just me. I do not like it. And when I see it, I'm like, y'all need to go in your car or get a room. I don't need to see that, and you don't need to see somebody doing it to me. So for all the Cardi B's and everything, yeah, you all may be showing that I'm empowered and stuff. All you're doing to me is feeding into what the stereotype is saying. Yep, see, yep. I mean, if I took a photo squatting and my parents were alive right now at the age I am, my parents would still whoop my butt.
Well, see, but I have to ask that question because because we gotta understand. So we moved from a different society. Because I remember when 2 Live Crew came out with "Pop That Coochie," 2 Live Crew, and there were a lot of people really rode them for the women in the songs. Then Nelly had a song "Tip Drill" that was very provocative. And if you had to stay up at late night to watch the real explicit version, so I mean, Nelly had a tip drill come out. Different people had different explicit versions of the songs come out, and trust me, y'all, I stayed up late at night to watch these songs. I wanted to see the videos. But what I'm trying to say is these videos would come out, and women would be naked. NWA popularized calling women the B words. Too Short popularized talking about sex in all of his raps. And at one point, they were ridiculed for doing it by not just women, but by also conservative Black women and also Black women who felt that they were being disrespected. To turn around today to the number one thing Black women call each other is that's my B word, right? Sometimes they greet each other. What's up, ho? What's up, ho? That's my ho. What's up? I mean, and I understand it's like the N word. They're taking it and empowering themselves with it. Nothing wrong with that. Trust me. I understand a lot of things come out of Black ways of knowing. A lot of things come out of Blackness and the way that we operate within ourselves. A lot of this does come out of that. So please, people gonna look at this like, what is he talking? I understand where a lot of this comes out of. But what I'm getting at is, at one time in our society, these things were frowned upon, but now that of course, because they were brought forth by a lot of men, and that's a patriarchy type of it. But it seems to be more okay if women take control of it and they come forward with it, and they're the ones who's being more provocative and claiming being provocative. Now it's okay. So my thing is, it's either, like I said, this is just to get discussion. It's either you don't want to be sexualized or you do want to be sexualized. And so some people are saying, well, make up your mind. And that's why I try to say some people just want to wear something comfortable. But some people do look in the mirror and see how does their shape look before they leave the house.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and I can guarantee you the ones that do that, you can just tell that from the clothes that they have on. So okay, so Lloyd, let me ask this then. I had a conversation with a friend where we were talking about back in the day, Black folks would get dressed up, and she said, they were going to the library or whatever, they got kind of dressed up to go out the house, whatever. Do you think it's because we as a people, and I'm talking about Black people, have not passed on, I don't want to say traditions, but we haven't passed on the morals. I don't even want to say morals, that we just haven't passed down that, I'm sorry, this is just not appropriate to squat or wear that, or make a record like what Aretha Franklin has made a record like that, thinking it was okay. With the Supremes have made a record like that, thinking it was okay. Meaning, she sang her sexual songs. Diana Ross and the Supremes, they sang their sexual songs, but they weren't all up popping that coochie and all. You understand what you understand where I'm trying to go. I'm trying to get there.
I know. I see what you're saying. Sexual song has always been part of our languages.
Right. But do we have to go there? Can't we just keep it there as opposed to going there?
Well, see, and well, that's the thing, though. It's like, so as society gets older, things are gonna get older, right? I'm just saying. Yeah.
Oh
yes.
boy.
Okay, so if you know the artist Zayn, right?
Yes.
Today Zayn's in a book. Tomorrow Zayn's gonna be on TV. I'm just saying, that's just what it is, right? I understand that. Yeah, back in the day, I remember putting on a old school song, and I remember the older lady was talking about, "I want you between my legs, oh baby. I wanna feel your sweetness." I mean, she was singing like this, and I was like, she was basically singing WAP before WAP came out. My juices is flowing down my leg.
But Lloyd, but at the same time, if you listen to what Barry White sang back in the day, it's like Barry was sexual all over the place. But again, he didn't have to go there in order to convey his message. He didn't have to go there. He didn't have to have a video with girls half naked, running around, whatever. He would still be able to say, "Your sweetness is my weakness," whatever. And we understood what he was talking about, and it was cool.
But everybody can't get a girl to take out their clothes by saying, "My sweetness is your weak." I don't have a very white voice. I can't walk in talking about practice what you preach, and my wife be like, "Yes, baby."
But Teddy was still able to do it from a wheelchair. So that is telling you something.
I'm just saying, everybody ain't got a voice.
No,
everybody don't have all the other things. Everybody don't have the right word. I'm just saying, some people. Look. All I'm trying to say is, we are in a America, and I learned this at a young age. America is in a different society than France and Paris. France and Paris. I'll tell you this. Go if you have. I'm sure you've been to one of those places before, correct?
Mm-hmm.
When I got to the airport in Paris in France, it was mind blowing, because when we got there, those magazines that we have are front cover there. They're not covered up. If I went to go get a Hustler magazine right now, Penthouse magazine right now, and went to a store, they would have it. In fact, you probably can't even get them from corner stores anymore like you used to. Remember growing up, people used to be able to get them from corner stores, but they'd be covered up with plastic.
And they were behind the counter.
Behind the counter, right. Yeah. They have plastic over them, things like that. So I remember when at first they were behind the counter, then they started putting them into plastic bags and stuff like that, covering things. My first time flying through Paris, I was in the Army, and I remember being in Paris at the airport and seeing Hustler and Penthouse on the front of the markets. And I remember being like, and someone was telling me, "Oh, you gotta understand, they don't look at sex. See, this hypersexuality is an American thing."
It is.
Right. And so, because other places don't see it the same, other places don't see it the way we see it. Other places, sexuality is just part of who you are and what it is. I think our society sees sexuality as those things that you're not supposed to see. You know how they say there's two things you don't want to talk about, but everybody likes, and that's money and sex. You know what I'm saying? In Paris, they have those magazines on the front. Places like Amsterdam, they have the red light district. They have women in the front of the thing. Prostitution is legal. Where here, you're not gonna do that. So I guess you're looking at a shift in society. If our society went to more of a shift as like European society, when I say European, I'm talking about like Amsterdam, Germany, France, Paris, stuff like that. If we did that, then you would see a different curve, because right now a lot of it's taboo, and you know how it is. It's that thing that nobody that everybody wants. So it's a devilish thing. So because of the Christianity in our society, I think 66% of American society is Christians now. I think it's went down a lot. But because you have those taboos and that's supposed to be bad, that's the reason why people want it. But in other places, it's put up front, so you have a lower sexual assault rate.
So, do you think we are, when I say we, I'm talking about Black people, are adding to the stereotype because of the Cardi B's and the Nicki Minaj's and whatever? Because you know, like you said, on one hand, we don't want it, but then on the other hand, you have people who push it.
Well,
So
I'm always going to maintain. I'm always going to maintain that sexual immorality is not on the woman; it's on the man.
okay,
I'm
all right.
always going to maintain that. A woman, I should not judge a. And just hear me out. And but even though I have my own biases too, I'm not. Trust me, I'm not saying this from a point of sitting up here looking down on other people. No, if I'm out and someone's wearing, I can see that, but it's their right to wear that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's their right for me not to have those type of thoughts come through my mind. Do they come still? I mean, I'm human. I've seen people and been like not turned on or aroused, but I've seen someone and be like, wow. And I've seen people like, wow. I've seen people like, like that. But no, as far as like hypersexualizing them, no, I don't think hypersexualizing people based off of what they're wearing. I don't think I've never been around people that's done that. I've never tried to do it. I've never done it to a point where like I never got excited seeing someone, hit your friend. Look at that over there. Look. Nah, that's just to me, it's just not, if he sees it, he sees it. He don't. I mean, that's not so now do I think we as Black people contribute to it? I'm gonna say yes and no. Reason why I say yes is because if we know that we're living in a hypersexualized society, why do we feed the dragon? I'm gonna say no because we have a prerogative to do whatever we want to do. So yes and no.
Okay, all right. We are at an hour.
This was a good topic. I wish we could have had guests. We need to do topic again.
Well, we are. There are a couple of topics that we need to do, and like I said, the one person who I really wanted backed out, but yeah, I mean, I just wish it pisses me off. It pisses me off, and I'm just and again, it just all just gets for me. It's just that more and more. I'm looking at such a racist society, and it's getting worse to me. But I think that the over sexualization of Black women is a stereotype that started with white people, and it was mainly as a control method, and as an excuse to rape Black women and girls, even though they were your property or slaves.
That's right.
It wasn't right. So, you have any last words before we?
Yeah. My last words for this topic is I think we have to if we want to fix our society, we have to start with us first,
Mhm, mhm.
and then it goes on. So you know, let's not throw and not me and you, and this is not for me and you. I'm just saying, just for
Mhm.
everyone else. Let's not throw rocks living in a glass house.
Right.
If we see something in our society that we don't agree with, if we have a chance to fix it, we fix it by um, as I do, not as I say. And we just live those lives that are trying to fix society, and hopefully someone can see what we're doing and want to also help and contribute to fix the society in that way.
Okay. Well, everyone, we will be back on July the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
July the 15th. Not sure what the topic's going to be, but we will be back on July the 15th. As always, Lloyd, I enjoy this. I
Yeah.
do. I'm having fun, and I'm enjoying you as a co-host. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. And
So
I enjoy being in the space with you.
so guys, until then, as always, we have to end up with Angela Bassett.
That's right. Just
Peace.
support Angela Bassett. Peace.
Peace out. Bye everyone.